Hi guys, and welcome to October, and yay, we are in Libra transit. So happy birthday to all Libras, and let's see what's going on. So really quick intro about astrological constellations and everything that we need to kind of like work on. Guys, do not forget to check your ascendant and check your moon sign, because that's sort of like going to give you different aspects of yourself. And of course, if this jives with you, you can contact me for the private reading. So let's see what is the biggie happening in the sky. And my astrology is really different. You know, nobody's going to tell me this is the way you need to do, because to me tarot is like so much more potent than astrology. So let's kind of like move into that. This week, both Mercury and in tarot, we have the Magician representing Mercury, so you can actually see the energy instead of just me telling you about Mercury. It's going to move into Scorpio, and that fiery Mars is actually moving in Libra. So Mercury is really, as you know, during Mercury retrograde, communication issues. So yes, it kind of like symbolizes how we talk and think, and how do we really exchange things, how do we communicate, right, with each other, with ourselves, kind of like pulling things together. It kind of like really talks about what we do daily, talks about short trips, and also kind of like trade and commerce and exchanges like of that kind of like sort. Meanwhile, Mars, which actually it's not ruled by Emperor. Oops, wrong, because Aries is kind of like ruler of Mars, but Mars really, and this is going to be hell of a reveal when I tell you. For those of you who know, you already know which card I'm going to pull. This actually is Mars card, Tower. And so Mars is basically all about energy. So when it kind of like occurs in our charts, it's kind of like boosting the activity of this area. So let's put it in perspective, because Mars is now showing up during Libra transition, and this is Libra card. In the background, we just have Saturn that goes direct, that went direct, and so now, if you're on my newsletter, you knew that we actually shifted to new timelines. It was like few things simultaneously happening, and if you felt last month being kind of heavy, and you didn't know what's going on, and you felt like you're climbing the walls and you're just like falling flat down, there was a reason for it. Please sign for my newsletter so you will be in the know. So when we kind of like have the Mars coming through, it's kind of like boosting the chart in our in that area, right? Activity of that area. So we are going to start feeling shift in our daily habits and conversations, and we will become more active in kind of like that area where sort of like that Mars joins the sun, wherever your sun is, and just kind of like, you need to remember the secret of life is really having low expectations. With Saturn kind of like that went direct, there are like no procrastination anymore. I think summer was, most of us had the excuse it was the summer, of course, for those of us in northern hemisphere, but in the southern hemisphere, winter was excuse. It's winter, I don't feel like it's sluggish. So we both kind of had the same excuse. But this kind of like all ended on September 18th at 13 degrees Capricorn. And this Saturn is the Lord of Karma, and it kind of like does feel, Capricorn is his ruler, but it's almost like the middle finger, right, when it is reversed, right? So retrograde motion is basically time when karma is sorted out, because this is the planet of karma. And so therefore Saturn retrograde is a double dose of that karma. So if you guys didn't get karma reading with me, it's very intense. It really tells you, hey, this is what you did in past life, this is what you promised to yourself. With all the wisdom, you're going to kind of like drag in this one, you want to resolve it, you know, like when we can, today I'm going to really kind of like handle this. That's kind of like, it's the entire life chart. So when and what was happening, it kind of like felt that past and present and future kind of like blurred together. And if you have been in the past and kind of like dealing with that, you know, events occurred to teach us a lesson. And Saturn is generally difficult ruler. It's kind of like, did you learn it? I really need you to know. And when I ask you this question, when I wake you up from a dream, you will get it. Not only that you're going to tell me blah, blah, blah. So the lessons that have been associated with Saturn retrograde kind of like really relate to our thoughts and our words. Some of us decided, hey, I'm going to communicate better. I'm not going to be quick to curse. And you're going to see that people will be cleaning their language. People who didn't clean the language, who continues to kind of like be mean and jump quickly to conclusions and to judgments, these people stayed on different old timelines. So what does that mean? That means you still have issues, you didn't resolve them. The bad part is going to last 12 years. So ask yourself if you really shifted or you didn't shift it, or you're just simply repeating the old patterns from the past. This in particular is going to be especially challenging if you have history of teasing or verbally abusing people. And this is becoming very prevalent. All of us kind of a little bit guilty of that. Internet is like a sneaky place where you just want to, you dislike my nail polish. You dislike something. I'm going to just tell you. We need to kind of pull back with Saturn, because Saturn is telling us, really, is this really who you are? And now turning direct is giving us a much brighter outlook, especially for making really important decisions about your home, your family, and relationships. So ta-da, everything is here. And when we are going through Libra transit, it's really talking about a major transformation. So this is where we are almost like, think about it, we have building our case, we kind of like made advances, we kind of like are understanding the areas of life which you kind of like need to do it. The Tower is saying, okay, this is collapsing, and we need to collapse certain areas of our lives and say rebuild, rebuild, rebuild. But then, Mercury is saying to us, you can do it. You have all the tools. You have been through all the lessons. You just need to pull it together, and you need to detangle anything that has been going on. Look at how powerful this month will be. So let's just jump in and see what is particularly important for your own sign. Hello Capricorn, hello my Capricorn friends, and welcome to your October reading. So October, we are going through Libra transit right now, but this for you can prove to be one of your most ambitious months in this entire year. Don't forget to sign up for my annual readings. I'm going to start with pre kind of like subscription, so just look up for that. Also keep in mind that we have Mars going through Libra transit from October 4th to November 19th. That's basically when things really speed up. I'm going to hide it for now, and then I'm going to tell you all the cards when they kind of like start all coming out. So that is going to kind of like really give you the opportunity to get somewhere, but you also will feel very, very stressed out about the matters that have been, maybe even brewing on some kind of like stuff. But at the same time, you might feel I'm finally moving, and like a mover and shaker kind of a thing, right? Just, for example, you are actually getting this transit in your 10th house, and so sometimes like I'm in the 10th house, which kind of represents leadership and public image, so you can actually maybe raise to major prominence. Like if you think about this Greta Thunberg, who is a 16-year-old Capricorn, right? So she actually became almost like a famous world kind of like icon for what is basically represented in that kind of stuff. So this is like something that might be inspiration for you, that is going to almost like make you look different, make an impact, start something. Capricorns are bringer of the gods and bringer of the kings at the same time. So it is really important, really, what will be happening. And I'm having two cards here for the finale in this whole until process. We also had Pluto going direct yesterday, October 3rd, and that is like really transformational as well, because when it goes into forward motion, that means, you know, like whenever was dimming your lights, whatever was not making you kind of like be prominent, it's going to start to intensify again, right? So anything that you have been blocked with, and that maybe was some kind of soul searching going back to April 24th, maybe you consciously realize that, maybe you didn't. Now you're going to start feeling inspired, right? So, but you're a pentacle, you're earth sign, you're still playing by the rules. So you have grace or temperance, you have stars, 2 majors, oh la la, 3 majors, good kitty. This is my karma card as well. So it's ramping up, 14, 17, 20. It's, as you can see, it's like kind of like jumping with a big leap, with a big steps. So it was something, okay, as I just said, you probably have been going through positioning. This can also talk about your business, that you have been kind of like having wonder, how do you go about something? Maybe you have been gathering acquaintances, maybe you have been gathering friends, maybe you have been networking and spreading that kind of like cycle of people around you, and hence, you know, finally there is like this time. Did I not say to you that you might raise to prominence? Maybe something like already happened in your case, because ta-da, good kitty means job well done. There's like something that has been already addressed to some kind of like extent. Wow, there is another major kind of floating cat. So it will be you, I think, Virgo and Leo, that will have a huge motion forward. You're going to move some huge blockages, because while we all have been surprised during all these retrogrades, some of us have been just like, I mean, squirming around and trying to just like land on our feet, right? Like here, but it looks like you have been thinking, you have been planning, you have been putting these big ideas in motions, you have been mobilizing groups. You kind of like understood also that without win-win situation, things cannot happen. This also can talk about old partners maybe coming through your life, and I can see here absolutely all elements that have been brewing, which means that you have been putting some process in place, trying to come into some kind of center. Well, your center card is Earth King. This is absolutely lovely card for you. Then we have 7 of Sea, or 7 of Cups. We have the Chariot reversed. We have 6 of Fire, or 6 of Wands. We have Ace of Sea, and we have Earth Kitten. I absolutely think that if you Mercury retrograde, let me just jump a little bit to the end, is actually starting to affect us again at the end of October. October 31st, it starts until the 20th. And also we have a period of shadow, because it kind of like goes into this retrograde. So this will be normal cycle, but when it goes retrograde, it kind of like loops behind. But even in that little process before it fully loops is the kind of shadow before it kind of moves forward. So we call it shadow. So I really think that that may kind of delay some travel or something that you may be planning in this particular time. So keep that in mind, right? So also going back to the beginning of the month, not only is Pluto going forward, but on October 7th there is like this square aspect of between Libra and Saturn is like really rigid. It's kind of like you want to move something and it just like feels like no freaking way kind of a thing, right? But this is like Saturn is in Capricorn, right? Same as Pluto. So it might feel like they are like something very restrictive. You might be clashing with authority figures of some sort, right? You might also have your own reservations, because I can see here you really, whether or not you know, or you're going to just realize now, spend lots of time redefining yourself, who you really are, right? So you really at this stage this month want to be seen as like, I'm very professional, but I am not a stiff kind of a thing, right? So It's going to be really interesting because, especially with this Mars in Libra, that squares when it squares off its Saturn is going to be October 27th, which again, Saturn in Capricorn, your sign. It's going to be really interesting because it's going to be like you want to move forward and you want to brake. So imagine putting the gas foot down at the same time with the brake. It's going to feel like really weird. So it's going to be something that you will need to reconcile within yourself. Maybe, you're going to find that you're getting mixed messages from somebody. They're telling you, yeah, you're going to get promoted, or I want to get back with you, or yes, we're going to move in together. And then the next motion is, well, I don't know, I still really need to think about it, etc., etc. So to me, the floating cat is really important because that is like telling me that you are getting this bigger viewpoint. You are reaching kind of like a better goal without selling out on your ideas and without settling for less than you deserve, right? So it's going to be either October 7th or October 27th. That's something big. Something is going to kind of unlock, kind of a thing, right? And as I said, all of that is like in that big soup where you are also building a name for yourself or reputation for yourself. So make sure that everything you do is good. This is called good kitty. It's not called bad kitty. This would be bad kitty. This is good kitty. And this one here has like these big dreams. These big dreams may as well happen, can be very victorious, or can get derailed completely. It is really up to you. It's going to require and ask you your own maturity, right? And it's also October 13th, we have this annual Aries full moon. For you, it's falling in the fourth house. This is at home and family and at emotional foundations, right? Which is really, really important, right? So if you're a parent that can actually bring pregnancy, or if you're planning this, or it can actually really talk about a really powerful woman who will somehow be very prominent for at the very least like 2 weeks, because that's the influence of a full moon, right? So you're going to also have like this huge emotional intensity, right? So after all, the earth that you have in your reading, it's really telling me so, right? So you really will maybe be a little bit prone to knee-jerk reactions, kind of a thing. So be very, very careful. Kind of like that car, kind of like you step on a pedal and it just goes right in the wall because you somehow didn't check, like if it's in a right gear, etc., and so on. However, then we are moving into Scorpio around the 23rd, not on the 23rd. And that's when all of a sudden, like it's going to feel really light, right? So sun shifts into Scorpio, and this is like your 11th house. This is groups, teamwork, and technology. So you can see this brewing, this trying to reconcile the differences, and those differences can really be glaring. It could be you're here and I'm here, and status quo kind of a thing, impasse. But the Grace card always says, no, every impasse can be kind of like breached. We can mix oil and water. We can kind of like walk together toward this new resolution. So it can really talk about some kind of collaboration or reunion, or for some of you, even kind of like planning something. I mean, I do see this pregnancy somehow charted for some of you. So that means something is really, really gaining speed. Something is really, really becoming serious, right? A few of you are going to almost like assert yourself where you work, and it might be that some of you might even enter politics of kind of like stuff like that. I would just say that given that the hangman showed up here, and the hangman is saying do not rush, allow others to kind of like run the show. You just be steady. You need to show up. You need to show up properly. You want to dress a proper, shirt and skirt. You want to look professional. You just don't want that somebody kind of like finds you sleeping, that you really didn't see that, right? Because you might deal with somebody who is kind of like attention hungry. It's a big large ego or a very extremely narcissistic person, almost like somebody who is almost like a drunk on who they really are. But this can simply actually talk literally being drunk or belligerent, or somebody who is bursting in the party, or you have something so prepared, let's say bridal shower, and somebody comes in and just like spoils that moment that can never be done, right? Because also it's very, very important that you don't create a bad kind of like a reality TV kind of like moment, right? So if you are the one running the show, just even in that situation, make sure that everybody is like kind of included and acknowledged, right? So that way you really come across as composed and not really arrogant, because if somebody starts pointing fingers at you that you're arrogant, you can clearly like revert back to this the hang cat situation. Hi, Selfie, and say, what exactly do you mean? I am really trying to see things from many different aspects. So let's see, how do we work with this? I also see, guys, that you are so freaking serious this particular month, that you are basically have this approach, look, maybe to some kind of relationship. Maybe you're meeting somebody who is very, very, very different from you, and you're like really wondering how to really deal with this, because look at this over here that we see. Oh, come on, Safi, do you think I can get it? Do you think I can get it? What do you say? What do you say, baby? Let me see if there is going to be any reasoning here. And if there is any reasoning here that's going to be, look at that. We have the kitty cat and we have like this porcupine, and they're like forming this new bond and new friendships, and they're saying, hey, I really want to learn, I really want to explore a little bit more what is going on in your world, right? So Earth Kitten is also about meeting somebody possibly at work, meeting somebody like in your studies, kind of a thing. So it could kind of like shows, maybe you're going in a community event, maybe you're going to school, maybe there is like some kind of workshop. What do you say, Safi? Which one would you vote for? Maybe there's like also somebody in your literally neighborhood, because that card can really talk about not kind of like steering really far from home. This is also opportunity and manifestation of this opportunity, which we also see here. So be really, really careful not to be considered arrogant, because these two cards are definitely telling me caution, and these two cards are very strong because they are major arcanas versus these are minor arcanas. They're saying you might as well most likely land on your feet, but be careful if you really want to be seen as a winner. And look at this, everybody's bringing toys to the kitty, everybody's like doing their share. But then how long is it going to last? Catnip is going to fade away, somebody else is going to pick up the bowl, is going to eat a fish, and you need to start the process all over again. So make it long lasting. This is why you are in the center of it. So if you're a central figure, you don't have anything to prove anymore. Try to be composed. This also could mean proposal, guys. This also could mean that somebody is very marriage minded. That's why there's like this like new vision into looking something, and maybe there is a relationship that you didn't think it would work, and now you're seeing, oh my goodness, this actually can work. And not only that, it could work. I'm sort of like really looking forward to it. It's going to be this new enthusiasm, because ta-da, there's like this new beginning. There's like some kind of celebration, like something that looks like maybe kind of optional. Now it is like something that is really feeling like commitment. It's like really feeling going forward. So you're kind of putting a whole bunch of puzzles together, almost like they're all a little bit different elements of a story that you want to portray to the world. You're building that public persona. If there's like one thing you want to memorize this month, whether this is like personal relationship or business or career, you will be observed. So poise and grace is of utmost importance this particular month, because you really have to steer away from any arrogance or even appearance of arrogance, because that can just derail you as quickly as it came about, versus like having that inclusiveness and having that ability to kind of like understand like how much you already built yourself is going to propel you forward. So my dear Capricorn, Thank you so much for being here. If you want a reading with me, you can contact me with description. You have all my info, or ketera.ca. If you want to get more info, please check your ascendant and check your moon sign. That's going to give you more information. And yeah, sure, don't forget to join me on live every Saturday at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we can go from there. You guys know that I love you, and just remember, poise is very, very important. It's going to get you forward even more than you ever imagined. You know, guys, that I love you. Can't wait to hear from you, so drop your comment in the description.